Well, hello, everybody. Today I'm very excited to introduce you to Sabrina Freeland. She is the state coordinator for TeenPact, an organization that I believe in so much that I put my kids through their camp for 9 years. So let me just tell you a little bit. Uh, I love their program. It starts at age 8, 8 through 12. I think it's just 1 day a week. So we just take them to Nashville for 1 day. It's called the 1 day Teen Pact Camp. We go to the Capitol and we go to a library for courses, for worship, for all kinds of learning about the government and civics and how a bill becomes a law. And then when they turn 13, they can go for 4 days or even 5 days, Monday through Friday. So we take them to Nashville for the entire week and then we pick them back up. And I remember one year, it was such a staple in my calendar. Whenever I made my calendar, I put the date on, but I never signed up because, of course, we go to Teen Pact, right? And I got busy with everything else. And of course, we go to Teen Pact. I told my husband, we got the hotel booked. We get there on Friday morning, there are no name tags for us. And the staff was feeling bad because they thought they did something on their end. And then we realized somebody looked us up. We never paid because we never signed up, because we never registered. Because, of course, we go to TeenPact. Why? But they let us go in for the day. And we made our own little name tags on blank name tags, and then we paid on Monday. This was on a Friday, so they said just on Monday call the national office, no problem. So this is the kind of people that we're talking about. They understand. They knew us from several years previously that we had attended. So anyway, Sabrina, let's start with this question. How did you become the Tennessee coordinator for TPAC?
Well, it's a long story. It goes back to 2010. Before Facebook groups and all the social media, I was in a Yahoo group and I saw a field trip to the state capitol. It was a 1 day class for 8 to 12-year-olds. So I signed up our 9-year-old daughter. And as it got closer, I said to my husband, I've registered Hannah for this class. It's at the Capitol. It's on Friday, and that's our co-op day. So do you want to take Hannah to the Capitol, or do you want to go sit in the nursery with the 3 little kids for co-op all day? Well, needless to say, he went to the Capitol, I went to co-op. And when he came home that evening, my husband, who's very particular about certain things, said, Sabrina, this is an organization I think that we are going to want to be involved in for a long time. So the next year, fast forward, registered our daughter and our son, who was then 8 years old, so he could go. Then we moved to Tennessee and missed a couple of years. And in 2014, Hannah was old enough to do the 4 day class that you just mentioned. So I registered her for that. And of course, not knowing anyone in Tennessee at that class, I signed up as a cabin mom to chaperone because I wasn't going to send our 13-year-old off with people we didn't know. And I very quickly realized that it was a very safe environment, that it was well run, well organized. And I left there at the end of the week, seeing what my husband saw when he went in 2010. And a few weeks later, I got a call from the national office asking if I would be their state coordinator because the previous one had to resign due to a new job. And I told them that I would be their interim, but I didn't really feel like I knew enough about the program to commit to it yet. A few weeks later, I got business cards in the mail, and I joke and say that I'm the longest running interim state coordinator in TeenPact history. But
Well,
I've loved every minute of it. Yeah. So here I am. And our children have all aged out now. And I still do it. My husband serves as a class director because we really believe in the program and what it teaches the students and the future leaders of tomorrow.
yes. So for our listeners who may be new to TeenPact, even though I said a few things about it, could you give a quick overview of what a typical state week looks like?
Absolutely. So for the 13 to 19-year-olds, or 13 until they go to college or start a career or whatever, starts on Monday afternoon, and we meet at the camp, and have our initial half day. We meet at noon and we go through the protocol, what they can expect for the week, but we jump right in to worship starting the session. And we have committees. They start their elections with the committee chairman and the committee clerk. They they just have an idea of what's to be expected for the week. We have a short meeting for parents if there's any parents who have any questions, which by the time they arrive with all the emails I send, there's usually not any questions from the parents, but just in case, we're there to answer those questions. And then the commuters leave. If they want to stay for dinner, they're welcome to. There's an additional fee for that, but not too much. And then we have worship after the free time for the students at the camp. We have dinner, then worship. We play a group game, and then we send the campers back to the cabins, and the commuters leave for home. And that Tuesday morning, the bus that from the camp picks us up after breakfast, and off we go to the Capitol. And actually, we are at the library downtown usually, and we use their conference space. And we have a mock election, we have a mock legislature, we have worship, we have speakers. We've heard from judges, Congress, state representatives, state senators. We sometimes meet with the governor for a few minutes. It just depends on the class and everyone's schedule. And we just repeat that. And at the end of class on Tuesday, the bus picks us up, takes us back to camp, repeat the Wednesday. Then on Thursday, we have graduation that afternoon. And some students choose to go home then. That's all that's required for the 4-day class to get that certificate of completion for those who are using the class as high school credit. And others choose to stay for the Friday political communication workshop. So those students go back with us to camp one more night if they're campers. And then we go back to Friday for the political communication workshop. And that's when our 8 to 12-year-olds show up for their 1-day class, which is a condensed version of the 4-day class. So those 1-day students still get that mock legislature, mock election. We do a prayer walk at the Capitol. They do a scavenger hunt at the Capitol because most of those students have never been to our state capitol. And interestingly enough, a lot of the parents haven't either. So it's a real exciting time for everyone there.
Yes. So my own kids, like I said, have been there for 8, 9 years. I think my son 9 and my daughter 7 or 8, because I remember she was not quite 8. She turns 8 in March, and the Tennessee one, the one that we usually signed up for, was in January or February,
Mm-hmm.
January. And so I remember reaching out to you by email and saying, "Hey, she's not quite 8 yet, but," and because we're homeschoolers and because you are a homeschool mom too, you know that you know your kids. And so you
Yes.
told me it's up to you. We'll take her if you tell us as her mom and as her educator that she can handle it, that she's mature enough to sit in a class and listen to a presentation, and
Yes.
you'll be there with her, and because parents are there with the 8 to 12-year-olds, right?
Yes. Exactly. Yes. Or an adult. Yes.
An adult, somebody is there
Yes.
with them.
Yes.
And so that was such a neat thing, and it goes back to one of the many reasons why we all decided to homeschool, where you can tailor the education. You don't have to go by rigid ages and stages, and
Right.
if a child can handle it, they can handle it. So what
Yes.
I've seen with my kids is TeenPact has helped them with their confidence, with their understanding of leadership. They go there and they can pick different roles in a campaign, the mock
Mm-hmm.
campaign. My daughter's very artsy, so she made a poster. My son's very well spoken, so he was one of the debate kids. I think he
Mm-hmm.
ran for a position several times. Um, Here's the question. Um, could you tell me what are some of the most common aha moments that you witness from homeschool families during the program?
Yeah, I love that question because even for our own children, what I didn't say about that first year we took our oldest daughter to the 4-day class, she did not want to go. She was furious, I guess is a good word to describe it. And she was determined to try to derail my plans, it just however she could. She put off the homework to the last minute. She kept telling me I'll do it the weekend before we leave. And then she came down with the flu. So as we head out Monday morning, she's recovered from the flu, but she hasn't done the homework. And I was just thinking, oh, this is going to be the longest 5 days of our school year. She didn't participate. I never saw her doing anything in class. I called my husband at one point and said, we have wasted several $100s, but we don't quit. We're not quitters, so we're going to stay all week. So we get to my brother's house that Friday night. We were spending the night with him before driving back to Knoxville on Saturday. And I overhear her in a room next door talking to her cousin, who's 2 years younger than her. And she was just going on and on about all the things she had done that week and what she had learned. And I'm standing there in the hallway thinking, well, you didn't participate in any of that, but she was obviously absorbing it. And needless to say, well, she wanted to go to National Convention because we have alumni events. Once a student attends the 4-day class, they can go to some of the alumni events. She wanted to go to National Convention a few months later, and we said, no, you didn't participate. You're not going. So fast forward to the next year, and she not only got the homework done, but at graduation, she had the highest score on the homework. And so we started going to National Convention that year, and we've been ever since. So I see these students who show up, just like our oldest. They're mad. They don't want to be there. They're like, why are you sending me to this? And they won't look me in the eye. They won't shake my hand. They won't speak to me. By the end of the week, they're hugging me. They're thanking me. And it's one of those things to where they don't know what they don't know. And it was my job as our oldest mom and every other parent, it's our job to give our student these opportunities that they don't even know they're missing, but giving them these opportunities to where it's life-changing to them. And I have parents now who say, my child will help teach a Sunday school class to the children in our church, or my child is helping a campaign for someone in our area, or my child is applying for a scholarship, just things that it has nothing to do with government. It's the leadership side to where they learn to advocate for themselves and take on that responsibility and that goal of whatever's in front of them. And we watched it with all 4 of our children, not just our oldest, but all 4 of ours, learning to speak, learning to make someone understand their beliefs without being rude or criticizing the other person. All of those are traits that we want our children to learn. TeenPact gives them a safe space to learn that with peers who are striving for the same goals. And part of that is in learning how our government runs. We've got alumni from Tennessee TeenPact who are now, we have one working at the governor's office. We have one who worked for the governor of Montana in the spring as an intern. We have those who are going to law school, medical school, nurses, mechanics, plumbers, stay-at-home moms, the whole gamut across the spectrum of students who have grown into adults, and they're taking those skills they learned at TeenPact, and it's transformed their lives and how they function as an adult.
Yes, that's wonderful. And that was going to be my next question. Thank you for answering it. Now I want to look at it from as a homeschool educator. I know you know what Charlotte Mason is, the classical homeschool approach also. Um, Sometimes trying to weave government education into a curriculum, especially a curriculum like Charlotte Mason that's book heavy, so is classical, it just feels like a dry textbook slog. So I love Teen because it makes it so real. It gives them friends. They apply it. They are in the building where the laws become real.
Yes.
And I want to know, of course, I know, but I want you to tell our listeners how have you seen the structure of TeenPact complement a Charlotte Mason approach or a classical homeschool approach?
A student came up to me just this past year, and he was one of those boys when he showed up. He didn't say much to me. He wasn't rude or distant, but he just wasn't chatty. And a couple days into the class, we were getting off the bus there at camp, and he walked up to me and said, Mrs. Freeland, I want you to know my mom's been having me read this government book this year, and it was so boring. I didn't think that TeenPact could be any good if it was anything like that book. He said, and now everything I read in that book is making sense, but it's been fun learning about it. And what students do is they have a little bit of homework before they show up. So every student shows up to class with a bill, and we do it in quite the same format as they do at the General Assembly in Nashville. We have first reads, it gets assigned to a committee. The committee goes over it and either pushes it forward or kills it in committee, and then it goes on the floor and they vote there. So students are sitting in lunch with their committees going through these bills. It's a working lunch, just like it would if they were real legislators. They're dressed like those real people in Nashville. The guys are in suits, the girls are in blazers. And, you know, it's just something about the way they present themselves and being dressed up. And when they're walking the halls of the Capitol, they blend in with everyone else there because they're dressing the part. And when they have those bills get pushed out of committee and on into the the main vote and getting up to debate their bills, standing in the well and following Robert's rule of law of was it Robert's rule of order,
Yeah.
and just that whole experience, you know, running for office when they're campaigning, going through the primary and then getting out of the primary into the general elections. Everything they've read in those books, it suddenly comes to life because it's hands-on, interactive. They're doing it, they're feeling it with every sense. They're hearing it, smelling it, tasting it with our kisses and starburst
Yes.
skit, you know, just the whole thing. They're experiencing it so that when they go home and they hear something on TV or read something in a book, it it triggers those memories of experiencing it themselves.
Yeah, that is such a fun program. And yes, the dress code. Let's talk about the dress code. I love the dress code. And when I put my 8-year-old son in a little suit with a tie, and we took a picture next to each other in front of the Capitol building, I mean, first of all, it elevated his own view of himself.
Yes.
And then I
Yes.
put a picture on Facebook, and everybody's like, "Oh my goodness, he's so grown up because now he's 8." And a lot of these people haven't seen him since he was a toddler. And all of a sudden, he's in a suit. And it was just such an amazing 1 day program that he became a little young man, just because of the
Yes.
suit.
I
Um,
had one mom tell me that her son, after TeenPact, he was probably 14 or 15 at the time. A few weeks after TeenPact, I get this text and she said, TeenPact is still costing me money. And I said, why? She said, well, my son has worn his suit to church for 4 weeks straight. I think I need to buy him another one. So, you know, just, and she said, and we don't wear suits in our church, but he's wearing his suit every week. So it does, it gives them just that boost of confidence and they hold their head a little higher. Yeah,
yes,
it's exciting and fun to watch them transform through the week.
yes. And to your point about kids coming and being scared and not looking you in the eye, and I didn't think that was possible. I didn't know that was a thing because my child was excited. My husband is very political and we have a lot of political conversations around the house,
Yeah.
so I expected him to be excited, and he was. But on top of that, what happened was, 1 year I came as cabin mom, and we can have a little conversation about that.
Yes.
But I came as cabin mom, and you were telling everybody, which I never heard this speech before. You were telling all the kids in the beginning, even the ones that were looking down, not looking at you the first day, if you don't like this program by the end of the week, I will give you an ice cream. I will buy you an ice cream. And they said, I've done this for 10 years and I've never had to buy
I've
an ice cream.
never, yes.
That's
And I
such a good
also tell them, I say at graduation, you have to look me in the eyes and say you had a horrible week. But just remember, I'm watching you all week and I'll know if you're telling me the truth or not.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've never had a student say they wish they didn't come. And it's obviously some students are impacted more than others. They're all impacted in different ways. But TeenPact leaves an imprint on all the students in one way or another. And hopefully they learn that the most important thing is to dig into God's word and find their answers for what they believe there. That is the most important thing we're trying to convey to them is that, you know, you talk with your parents, you talk with your church leaders, you can listen to podcasts and watch TikTok, whatever. But ultimately, you get your answers from God's word.
Yes. And that's why we do worship at Team Pact before.
Yes.
And that's why we look at everything through a scriptural lens.
Yes.
Now, for moms juggling multiple ages at home, what advice do you have on preparing a child
Mhm.
for their first Teen Pact experience? Are there any pre-program resources or a heart check conversation, so to speak, that would help set
Yes.
the stage for maximum impact?
Yes. So there is a homework packet for the 4-day class and the 1-day class. Naturally, the 1-day class homework packet isn't as detailed as the 4-day class for the older students, but I do encourage parents to print that off early. I mean, even now, we've got, I don't know, over 100, 150. I haven't looked at the numbers lately, but we've got lots of students already registered for 2026, and we have 3 different weeks they can choose from. The first class, Tennessee 1, is already full and on a rather long wait list. Tennessee 2 is getting there, and Tennessee 3 is filling up as well. But go ahead and print that homework and just do it in little bite-sized pieces. Don't hand it to them and say, sit down and do this. Just take one section at a time, maybe one second. At this far out, you can do one section a week and have it completed well before the time needed. If they know anyone going with them, have a homework party. Like we've had so many homework parties at our house. Just invite people over who are going and sit there and do the homework together. I don't care when they show up if they've talked about their homework with someone else and done it together. The idea is to learn the information. I don't care if they sit there and do it by themselves or if they sit there sharing answers and talking about it as they do it. I just want them to understand those definitions when they get there and know what the Bill of Rights is and write a letter to their state representative and state senator. So have a homework party, or maybe mom or dad sit down with them and go through it as well, so that mom or dad or both know what they're doing so they can dialogue with them throughout the course of time leading up to class. And families with children of multiple ages, I think it's interesting that when the younger kids show up, they're so ready for TeenPact. Like they already know all the lingo and terms and stuff because they've heard their older siblings. Our youngest 2 are twins. And by the time they started the 4-day class, they just slid right in because they had watched their older brother and sister do it so much. But just make it fun. Don't make it a chore, make it fun. And don't sweat it. If your student shows up and hasn't completed the homework, they're still going to learn a lot. Obviously, I would love for them to finish the homework, but we're not going to say you can't come if life got in the way of finishing their TeenPact homework. And just, as far as the heart check, we as parents can encourage our students, but we have to remind them that it's their communication walk with the Lord that's going to determine how their week goes. And that's what's important, and we pray constantly throughout the season that the Lord would just prepare the hearts of all the students coming and that they would soften to his leadership and his voice. And so that's the ultimate goal, is them listening to the Lord.
Very nice. So, the very first year when my son was there, the leader overall, the student leader, was from Alaska, a young man from Alaska. And fast forward 7, 8 years, when I was a cabin mom, he shows up, the same young man, with a wife whom he
David
had
Taylor.
met through TeenPact. And so I want
Yes.
to talk a little bit about these connections, these friendships for life. A few of them become husband and wife, but otherwise you just
Mhm.
have a lot of good, solid friendships.
Yes.
I want to know how how have you seen this being so vital for conservative teens who are going to graduate from homeschool and go try to navigate public school, um, if they go to public school afterwards? Sometimes some of them go to, most of them are homeschooled, but they attend Teen Pact, but a lot of them are in public school, or they end up in public school or private school, and then they go to college. And as we know, even conservative colleges will have some liberal professors and a lot of liberal influences. So, how has Teen Pact been so vital for these conservative teens to give them that important self confidence, inner strength to be able to navigate that?
Yes. So I mentioned that once students attend the state class, they can attend alumni events. And there are several alumni events throughout the summer and fall. National Convention is in at the end of May, and it's actually just here in Tennessee at Lee University. And then there is Congress, judicial, um, my mind's blank. Venture is for boys, Endeavor is for girls, back to DC. Lots of things that students can from all over the country can go to. And they start meeting students not just from Tennessee, but from all over the country. And my children over the years have gone many states for weddings, for visiting friends. We've had so many students here in and out of our home visiting, when they're passing through on vacation or just flying in here to visit our students or our children. And it's interesting to see how they encourage each other. One of our daughters is at Liberty University, and just this weekend, she went to visit some of her TeenPact friends there in Virginia. She spent the weekend with them. Those friendships that become solid through the years, and they can encourage each other and motivate each other. There's peer pressure. There's the bad peer pressure and the good peer pressure. And we pray that our students are drawn to those other students, or we pray that our children are drawn to those other students who will be that good peer pressure and push them towards Christ. And students, even as homeschoolers, our goal is to prepare our children to be adults in society. And we can't shelter them until they're 18 and then expect them just to walk into the world and figure it out. To us in our family, TeenPact was a way of talking about some of those hard issues like abortion and just the whole gamut, to where once our children became adults and went away to college, they at least understood how to formulate what they believe about things. And they're not afraid to call us and talk to us about it occasionally if they need, some guidance there or want our opinion. But yet it gives them those friends who, when it's hard to find friends around home who have their same values, they have that network all around the country to encourage them. And even here locally, as many Tennessee students as we have, there's a lot of new friendships that are made every time students arrive at class.
Yes, yes. So to wrap up, Sabrina, if a homeschool mom is listening today and feeling that nudge to get her teen involved, what's the one step you'd encourage her to take next? And how can our audience connect with you, TeenPact Tennessee, the Tennessee team, for more information? I will put all those in the show notes as well.
Sure, yes. I just encourage a parent who's listening to this and wants to know more to get on our website. It's teenpact.com/TN/ and that's Teen Pact, TEENPACT. So the founder, Tim Eccles, got the name from teens making an impact. So Teen Pact. And they can go on there and read all about our classes. My email address is simply Tennessee@teenpact.com. if someone is listening to this in another state, they would just replace the name of their state. Arizona at teenpact.com, Mississippi at teenpact.com, and that would go to that state coordinator. We are happy to answer any questions. Most of the questions are answered on the website, but if they have any more, send an email and we're happy to answer those questions. And I don't know when this is going on the internet, but September has the biggest discount on registration. And then October up until 60 days before the first day of class has the next best discount on registration. 59 days and less is the normal price. And that also applies to chaperones because we need parents too, just like when you came. We have to have a parent in every cabin, so those chaperones get the same discounts as well. We don't charge parents to attend class, but we do have to charge them for what the camp charges us there.
Right, right. And it was wonderful, and the food was amazing, and their chef knows about dietary restrictions, and they were super respectful of what we needed. So yeah, it's just a great program. I would like to be a cabin mom again, and maybe I will if things slow down a little bit around our house.
Yeah. Yeah. We'd love to have you.
Thank you. So I will put all this information in the show notes, and we want to thank you very much for taking the time to share this
Yes.
with our listeners. And can you tell us one more time the 3 weeks in Tennessee? One's in January, so our listeners at least can have an idea of what to sort of prepare for. So Tennessee one is in January.
The last week of January is Tennessee 1, and I believe it's the third week of March is Tennessee 2, and then the third week, I should know these dates by memory, but I don't yet. The third week of April is Tennessee 3. So Tennessee 1 is on a long wait list right now for the 4-day class. There's still a few seats in the 1-day class, but then we still have space in both classes for Tennessee 2 and Tennessee 3.
All right. Well, thank you again, Sabrina, and we'll
Okay.
maybe have you on the show next year to tell us some
Yeah.
fresh stories from TeenPact Tennessee 2026.
Yeah. Thank you.